You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. We begin with breaking news out of California. Wildfire devastation. You are taking a live look over Los Angeles, where rapidly growing flames fueled by a windstorm are ripping through California's largest city, becoming its most destructive wildfire in its history. LA under a state of emergency. The Palisade Fire moving quickly, burning more than 15,000 acres with 0% containment at the moment. Just take a look at these flames captured by the passenger of an airplane. Rescue aircraft, by the way, have been grounded due to high winds, taking out a very powerful tool to battle those flames. So far, the fire has destroyed more than 1,000 structures. Earlier today, a fire evacuee shared that his home is close to being added to that statistic at just 8 blocks from the line of fire.
I did sneak out of here on a motorcycle this morning and go see my neighborhood, and it is blocked by the police. There's a lot of wind damage. I saw my house. We lost our gate and our fence. There's trees down that have crushed cars and on top of houses.
The Palisades Fire, just one of 4 that first responders are now battling. Take a look at your screen. You'll see the Eaton Fire, which has burned over 10,000 acres, underway near Pasadena. That's claimed the lives of 2 people. In the San Fernando Valley's Sylmar neighborhood, the Hearst Fire is raging. Meantime, the Woodley Fire just began today west of Burbank. Those fires forcing at least 80,000 people across 7 counties to evacuate, and that number expected to climb. Well, at least 19 school districts were forced to close. California officials say this amount of activity is unprecedented.
1,400 firefighters out on the street, and literally tens of thousands of other city workers, whether they're working on power poles, directing traffic, cleaning up debris off of roads so folks can come and go and evacuate where necessary. This is just an unprecedented mobilization that we are fortunately prepared for, but we have not yet seen.
Already, over 400,000 customers are without power in California. The fire chief says the cause of the blaze is now under investigation. But already, President Joe Biden has pledged the federal government's full support. After getting briefed this afternoon, Biden said he was prepared to do anything and everything for as long as it takes.
Rain, sleet, freezing. Snow will begin to push into West Texas this afternoon and will continue to spread eastward, impacting west central, north, and northeast Texas through Friday morning.
The other big story tonight, Texas on high alert as another winter storm gets ready to wallop parts of the southern U.S., sending temperatures to sub-freezing levels today. Concerns developing over the Lone Star State's power grid after a major winter storm hit in February of 2021, leaving nearly 10 million residents in the dark. Texas, where snow totals are expected to be high, is the most at risk for winter blackouts, but high impacts are also anticipated across 1,400 miles of the South from Texas to the North Carolina coast. Up to half a foot of snow, along with freezing rain and ice expected in spots of central Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. The Justice Department plans to release some of Special Counsel Jack Smith's report on investigations into President-elect Trump, including the part about the 2020 election interference case. But the part about the classified documents case will stay under wraps for now. That's according to a filing in a federal appeals court. Trump has called the 2020 election investigation a, quote, witch hunt. This as Trump turns to the Supreme Court to call off Friday's sentencing in his hush money case. It comes a day after New York courts refused to postpone it. Judge Juan Merchan suggests he won't impose jail time, fines, or probation, but Trump's lawyers argue a felony conviction would have negative effects. Trump was convicted of falsifying business records but denies any wrongdoing. Former President Jimmy Carter is lying in state at the U.S. Capitol for a second day. The 39th president was remembered yesterday by officials during a private ceremony. Vice President Kamala Harris and Speaker Mike Johnson gave eulogies today. The public can pay their respects until 7 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Then Carter's national funeral service will be held at the Washington National Cathedral.
Jimmy Carter, for us here at the cathedral, really exemplified what it meant to live a life of faith in the public square. So to be able to be just a part of this and to help give him the honor that he deserves, it's actually one of the best parts of my job.
Capitol Hill police arrested a man today after he attempted to bring a machete and 3 other knives into the Capitol Visitor Center. The center was briefly put on lockdown before reopening. It's not known if there was a motive there. President-elect Donald Trump, we understand, is meeting with Senate Republicans in the Capitol tonight before he attends President Carter's state funeral tomorrow. President-elect Donald Trump continues to keep his eyes on Greenland, hoping to make it part of the United States. Today, Denmark's foreign minister says the territory could become independent if the residents wished it, but downplayed it becoming U.S. property. National correspondent Atral Nashar reports from Capitol Hill on why Greenland is in focus for Trump and how others in the Republican Party feel about it.
Before he's even in office, President-elect Trump flirting with the idea of using the military to take over foreign lands, including the autonomous Danish territory of Greenland.
Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
In that very moment, Trump's eldest son was in Greenland. The incoming president writing, "This is a deal that must happen." So why does Trump want Greenland? He said, for purposes of national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. It also has an abundance of rare earth minerals critical to U.S. national security. China has a monopoly on these kinds of minerals and has started blocking exports of several kinds to the United States. On Tuesday, Greenland's prime minister said in a statement, "Let me repeat, Greenland belongs to the people of Greenland. Our future and fight for independence is our business." Back here on Capitol Hill, some Republicans seem to still be wrapping their heads around the idea. Should the United States take Greenland?
You do not take it. But if the Norwegians are willing to sell it, why not?
Greenland is a territory of Denmark, not Norway. As for using coercive means of acquiring it...
Oh, heck no.
Okay.
Heck no.
No, absolutely not. I think he's enjoying trolling people on these issues. He does that quite a bit.
With a war already raging in Europe, his critics say it's not something to take lightly.
We do not invade other countries for territory. We haven't done that in over a century, and we shouldn't start now. The way to get access to rare minerals is through diplomacy, through trade deals.
Trump says he also wants the U.S. to take over the Panama Canal and Canada. So we'll soon see if his words motivate partners and allies to work with him on issues like trade or just push them away.
Yeah, pretty lofty goals there. More world leaders are weighing in on this. What are they saying?
Well, the French foreign minister said that there's no question about whether the European Union will let other nations attack its sovereign borders. Now, Greenland is not part of the EU, but Denmark is. And German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said there's a certain incomprehension about Trump's comments. But big picture here, this could complicate how Trump plans to negotiate an end to Russia's war in Ukraine, right? He said this is something he could do before he even takes office. Doesn't look like that's going to happen in less than 2 weeks. But if he's trying to end a land war in Europe while threatening or flirting with military action in another part of Europe, well, that might not add up.
Very, very interesting. We'll see what happens. Atral Nashar reporting for us from Washington, D.C. Thank you. Thousands of Helene survivors in Asheville, North Carolina are currently living in hotels under FEMA's Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program. But now FEMA is telling some families they have just days before they need to check out as they are no longer eligible for financial assistance.
I have nowhere else to go but in the streets. They are not, I've called them several times, and they have not answered anything. They have not extended my stay. They just told me I had to be out by January the 10th.
FEMA says there are 3 reasons for the change. Either the individual was not able to be contacted to update their needs, or they declined a FEMA inspection of their home. The last reason is their home is now considered habitable. The JetBlue passenger arrested last night for opening the exit door while the plane was about to take off spent last night and most of the day in the hospital. It is unknown what he is being treated for. The unnamed man was scheduled to be arraigned today in Boston. Passengers on that flight 161 from Boston to San Juan, Puerto Rico, said this man was arguing with his girlfriend over a cell phone dispute before running to the exit and opening the door. Construction to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. It is set to begin sometime this week. The Maryland Transportation Authority said pre-construction activities were delayed because of the East Coast snowstorm. The Progressive Design Build team will soon begin assessments of homes and businesses in the area of the reconstruction project. The project is expected to take almost 4 years to complete and cost at least $2 billion. New charges could be coming out against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. ABC News reporting that prosecutors wrote in a court filing the FBI has uncovered additional criminal conduct by Mayor Adams. He is already facing 5 charges, including wire fraud and federal program bribery. Mayor Adams is expected to go on trial in April and has pleaded not guilty. The mayor says the federal government is targeting him.
Even Ray Charles can see what's going on. and I have an attorney, Alex Spiro, is handling that. I've said over and over again, I've done nothing wrong. Let the attorneys do that. I have to run this city.
Lawyers for Jay-Z, meantime, are trying again to get a judge to dismiss the sexual assault lawsuit against him. It comes after several inconsistencies in the accuser's rape allegations come to light. Jay-Z's attorney says the lawyer behind the lawsuit should have corrected the inconsistencies and that the lawyer had an obligation to do his own investigation of the allegations before filing the suit. The accuser's attorney said last month their client remains adamant that she told the truth. Jay-Z has vehemently denied the allegations. Coming up, many schools across the country are banning cell phones, a big impact one principal says it's had on her students. Then what we've just learned about 2 hostages in Gaza and the latest on negotiations in the Middle East. And pilots in North Carolina are picketing in preparation for a strike. Why they say they should be paid more when we come back. We continue to follow breaking news out of California, where the death toll from those LA area fires has risen to 5. Live look for you over Mount Wilson, north of Pasadena, where the Eaton fire is raging. There are now 4 active fires in the area, and as a result, The air quality in Southern California is exceeding emergency levels. Some parts of Los Angeles seeing air quality indexes above close to 400. Anything over 300, mind you, is considered extremely harmful to breathe. And just take a look at these flames out of the Palisades fire. This video showing the blaze ripping through what appears to be homes. Tens of thousands of people have already evacuated, including one woman who says it was surreal to watch her own neighborhood begin to burn.
I could see open flames in my backyard, and as we were driving down our street, there were a couple of front yards where embers had already landed and they were on fire.
And stay with us both on air and online at thenationaldesk.com as we track the very latest on evacuations and the efforts to battle this monstrous blaze. A K-12 school in Lantana, Florida is seeing positive results from a cell phone ban that started almost 2 years ago. The principal of Palm Beach Maritime Academy says test scores, they've increased by 30%. Cyberbullying and phone theft have dropped. Teachers say students are listening and learning more. Students have to keep their phones in pouches. Each classroom has a phone in case someone does need it. Other schools in the U.S. are adding similar policies. South Carolina's new law banning cell phones in public school classrooms takes full effect this week, and public schools in Portland, Oregon just voted to ban cell phones during the school day. The school board chair pointed to a school district that piloted a ban and found a decline in fighting and in substance abuse and harassment. Weekly unemployment applications have fallen to an 11-month low, dropping to roughly 201,000 applications for last week. Economists were predicting a rise in unemployment numbers following the Fed's rate cut last month. Today's job report came out a day early because government offices are closed tomorrow in honor of former President Jimmy Carter's state funeral. Future employment numbers could be impacted by the takeover of artificial intelligence. A new World Economic Forum survey says 41% of employers plan to downsize their workforce by 2030 as AI automates certain tasks. And more than 3/4 of large companies say they plan to train their existing workers to better work alongside AI. Authors of the report say jobs at risk include postal service and payroll clerks, executive and legal secretaries, as well as some graphic designers. Israeli Defense Forces recovered 2 bodies of Israeli hostages kidnapped last year on October 7th. As Israel confirmed the remains of Yusuf al-Zaydani, but the identity of the other body is still in question. Earlier today, Israel's foreign minister suggested that Yusuf's son, Hamza, may have been the other. It is unknown at this time how or when they died. However, in September, Hamas threatened to kill any hostages that Israel attempted to rescue, insisting on a release only through diplomatic agreement. As many as 96 hostages remain in Gaza, with at least 34 believed to be dead. But the hostage and ceasefire talks, they continue in Doha. Donald Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, is joining the negotiations in an effort to get a deal done within the next few days. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Paris today says an agreement is close.
I hope that we can get it over the line in the time that we have left. But if we don't, then the plan that President Biden put forward for a ceasefire hostage deal will be handed over to the incoming administration. And I believe that when we get that deal, and we'll get it, it'll be on the basis of the plan that President Biden put before the world back in May.
A record 24 million people have enrolled for health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. Open enrollment ends on January 15th next week. President Joe Biden credits his work to bring down lower costs in health care and prescription drugs. However, incoming President-elect Donald Trump has criticized the ACA for years and even tried to dismantle it during his first presidential term. Well, the snow and colder temperatures are making for some good sledding weather, but it's also increasing the odds of outdoor injuries. Medical reporter Liz Bonus shares how to lower that risk.
You see, the hill is the secret to the perfect slide. Addie Fee knows that.
It's what she loves about sledding.
You actually get to go on something and ride down.
The ride down, however, is the risky part. Dr. Brad Sobolewski of Ohio's Cincinnati Children's Hospital told me.
Many of the injuries happen when kids either run into something at the end of their sledding activity or fall off the sled and roll down the hill.
And that can bring them into the emergency room with some potentially serious complications.
Kids can suffer significant fractures, serious head injuries, or even injuries to the organs in their chest and abdomen.
Addie has some of her own strategies to avoid these kinds of injuries.
Always by staying in the middle and putting my legs out. So if something in head of me, I don't get tagged by it with my body. I get tagged by my feet.
But Dr. Sobolewski reminds us that if a drop in temperatures makes the snow conditions icy, it may be harder to stop yourself with your feet or anything else, which means
you don't want to go down something that is too steep. You want to go down a hill that ends in a flat area. If your backyard ends in the woods and is very steep, that's probably not the best hill to sled down because you're sledding into trees.
Position and protective gear can make a difference in icy conditions.
We recommend that kids are sitting upright, feet first, and you should wear a helmet, whether that's a bike helmet or a ski helmet.
And if temperatures are really cold and fingers and toes start to tingle,
you need to come in. Don't just presume that it's going to get better if you're moving your hands around or over time.
Now, his suggestion is also to look out for your friends. If someone with you seems confused or not acting quite right, get them inside somewhere where they can warm up. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonas reporting.
Important reminders there, Liz. Thank you. Coming up, the requirement to have a real ID has been delayed several times. What to expect as the new deadline approaches fast. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in North Carolina, where pilots are picketing for higher wages.
As you can see behind me, these Allegiant pilots are lining up, picketing to make their voices heard. They're in negotiations with Allegiant Air for an updated contract that includes higher wages that better match their industry peers. They say their current proposed rates are 24% lower than other airline pilots. Also on the table is less work rules and scheduling concessions. This is one of just many informational pickets happening across the country. We spoke with a member of the local APA Teamsters who says that while this is a picket, a full-on strike could come soon.
Legion Air pilots, and myself included, we have voted 97% in favor of a strike, and we realize that that would be detrimental to passengers and flight routes and schedules.
Brian Ramirez, a barber at Legends Barbershop, says 3 men were seen on security camera breaking into the business Sunday morning.
They came in, they parked a couple parking spots down there. They came in for one of the smaller windows. It was 3 people. They came in, they took a bunch of gel, they took some of our merch, they took like half of the barber's equipment.
Ramirez estimates at least $20,000 in valuables were taken, including several sports jerseys, which were on display throughout the business.
I would say that in just clippers, it's about like almost 10, a little over maybe.
He says the clippers taken were worth $200 each.
Congress passed the Real ID Act in 2005, essentially establishing minimum security standards for issuing licenses, much of this born out of the 9/11 terror attacks 4 years prior. On May 7th, the federal government wants everyone flying domestically to have this check in place.
It's been delayed many times.
Monroe County Clerk Jamie Romeo said this year the government means business.
Because I know we don't want to put our friends at the airport or the TSA or anyone in a position where May 7th is going to come, you don't have what you need, and you're not able to get onto that plane.
Airport Director Andy Moore says if you plan to fly domestically, upgrade your license or else.
You're going to have some trouble boarding a domestic flight.
And coming up, the celebrities who've lost their homes to the historic wildfires in Southern California. Stay with us. And we're now learning several celebrities are among the thousands impacted by the wildfires in Southern California. Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, says he's evacuated from Malibu. TV actors Adam Brody and wife Leighton Meester have reportedly lost their home to those flames. Other celebrities affected include actors Jamie Lee Curtis, Eugene Levy, James Woods, and Steve Guttenberg. Guttenberg, by the way, known for his roles in 3 Men and a Baby and Police Academy, has been out helping his own neighbors during these hard times.
It was just heartbreaking. You can't, at 1 PM, it was nighttime. It was this is the most unbelievable fire that anybody's ever seen.
Pretty incredible. And more than 80,000 residents are under evacuation orders, and that number just continues to climb. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again for more coverage of those LA area fires. Thanks for joining us and have a wonderful night.